Before we begin this episode, I'd just like to take a quick moment and apologize once again. My laptop decided that it was going to just switch which microphones it was going to record with before we actually started recording, and my sound quality is an absolute mess of hot garbage. Thankfully, my guest did sound fantastic. But my own audio stream is so incredibly subpar, but I decided to go with it because if I were to re-record the episode, the reactions would not be genuine, and I felt it better to keep the genuine reactions for the conversations rather than try to fake it for the sake of the sound quality. Is that the right decision? I honestly don't know, but that's what I'm going with, so here we go.
Crosstalk, the unintentional transfer of signals between communication channels, a casual conversation.
Hello world, this is Videogame Crosstalk, episode 038, the monthly podcast of gamers talking tech science and whatever else comes to mind. I'm your host, Anthony Rossi, and with me this episode is the writer and creator of the comic Lonely Girl, Rebecca Bammert. Rebecca, thank you so much for joining me.
Oh, thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
Yeah, and thank you for coming out on such short notice.
Yeah, not a problem.
Okay. Things have been accelerating over at the Rossi household as of late. I know I've mentioned it on the podcast, but a quick little update of the family situation going on. My wife is due October 10th with our second child. Yay! Which means she's like 7 months pregnant right now. And yeah. So things have been, I am selfish, and I realize I'm selfish for any of the complaints I may have, but everything's going along just fine. But that means that it's everything takes a little bit longer. My son, who is going to be turning 3 also in October, he is very much active at this point. He is speaking in full sentences. He is full toddler mode, and he's an active one, which is a good thing, right? He's running all over the place saying, "Daddy, chase me, Daddy, come get me." And of course, when the toddler demands that you go chase him, you get off your butt and you go chase the little monster all around the backyard. So between all of that, it's been a busy time. But I am thankful that I finally have been able to carve out a weeknight to finally get this recorded. We are recording this on August 30th. And so I'm like just making my timeline, just making the deadline to keep this as a monthly podcast. I'll probably publish this most likely in September, but I got it recorded before the end of the month. How are things been going with you?
Things are going good. Right now I have a lot going on. I'm doing rehearsals for a play in North Creek. Yeah, we're doing a show called The Uninvited. It's in October, the 18th, 19th, and 20th. It's a nice spooky story. So I've been pretty busy drawing comics.
Nice.
Yeah, doing the rehearsals and working on a new CD that I'm putting out that's like modernizations of 80s songs. So.
Well, I wasn't even planning on talking about either one of those things, but I think I might have to get back to that in just a little bit. Oh, so you're like all over the place in the arts, aren't you?
Oh yeah, everything. Acting, singing, dancing, you name it, I do it.
Very cool. Very cool. Well, before we get into any of that, you know what? Screw it. We're going to get right into that. So, wow, that just like threw a curveball for me. But okay, so let's start with the comic.
Okay.
Because this is what I've been able to, I can talk better. I've been able to meet you a couple times at the local cons. Definitely the Saratoga con?
Saratoga,
I was finally able to get a quick interview with you for one of my live events. And you are the creator artist of Lonely Girl. So give us a quick synopsis on that.
Okay, so Lonely Girl is a comic that is for probably younger kids to junior high kind of age. It's a story about a group of misfits that kind of find each other because they all don't fit in. So there's a tomboy character, a goth girl, a math nerd, and a one-eyed talking cat that is quite grumpy. Yes, that gives his opinions on life all the time. I just started the third book, which we're going to bring in some new characters.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, a dog, because everybody asks for a dog. So.
Well, I do have 2 dogs, and actually, it just came up on my Facebook memories when we first adopted our first dog, and that was a full 8 years ago. And we adopted her when she was 3 and a half. So she's getting up there. She's becoming a cranky old lady, but
yes.
she's still doing well. So yay for bringing dogs into the story.
Yes, I thought that it would be fun to let the dog drive Spooky Cat crazy, because it would be a fun way to get him more involved with the characters.
Okay. And I'm assuming Spooky Cat is sufficiently and appropriately snarky, as all cats are.
Yes, he is. He's a one-eyed talking tuxedo cat, and he's quite grumpy. He's actually based on my real cat. So.
Oh, okay. So does Grump, the spooky, grumpy, one-eyed cat, giving life advice, or just adding snark to the story?
He does. He has a section at the end of each comic called The World According to Spooky Cat.
Okay.
And he actually gives advice about different things. One of them is how it's important to put down your cell phone and spend time with the people you're with.
Okay.
So he goes on his little tangents about things like that.
Oh, very nice. So how long have you been doing this comic?
I've been doing it since 2015. It started kind of on accident. Unfortunately, my mom had died of cancer, and I just couldn't sing. I was just too heartbroken. So a friend of mine said, well, you should draw a comic. And so that's how Lonely Girl started. She bought me art supplies, and I just started drawing, and it just happened.
That is absolutely wonderful.
Yeah, it was a really great healing experience.
Okay, so have you done much drawing prior to this?
Not really. I did a kid's book in senior year of high school. We had a homework assignment where we had to draw a kid's book, and I got super into it and drew all the pictures, but that was about it. And I never even thought of it, but I always doodle my cat, and that's when my friend said, wow, you can really draw a cat. You should do a comic about your cat, and that's kind of how it started.
Okay. So, unfortunate circumstances, of course, and my deepest sympathies for, well, I have in the show notes inspiration. That's kind of, didn't expect it to get this dark this quickly.
Unfortunately, Lonely Girl has a lot of dark inspirations. It's about being rejected. I wrote it while I was grieving. I'm a social worker, so I bring a lot of that into it, but it takes dark things and turns them into positive things.
Okay. Well, that's inspiring in its own way, and probably healthier coping mechanisms than what most people tend to turn to.
Yeah. I was like, I'm going to draw cats.
Yeah, right?
Yeah.
Right, that makes you happy. That makes everyone happy.
Yeah. So, because Lonely Girl is very much based on my experience growing up. I was bullied really badly in high school. So, because I was the only goth in my entire high school. So, and it was the 90s. So it was, Marilyn Manson, Nine Inch Nails,
Right.
Yeah. So, that's why you see a lot of 90s bands referenced in Lonely Girl, is because it's just because of my childhood, and they're cool again now, so the modern kids know who I'm talking about.
It's so weird sometimes.
Yes.
It really is, because I had a very awkward adolescence. I didn't know where I fit in my school, in my society. I was just kind of all over the place. Never really latching. I latched onto a few people, but I just kind of floated through.
Mm.
And it was odd in my teen angst years where in the hardcore punk rock, ska, metal scene, just anything that had really aggressive music was
Mhm.
where I found my peace. Have
Mm.
you ever heard of anyone like
Oh
referencing
yeah.
that?
Oh
Okay.
yeah,
It's like
definitely.
I found my sanctuary at the bottom of a mosh pit somehow. And
Yeah.
it was like this bizarre equalizer, I guess. Because when you're in the music, when you're in that scene, you're at the show and you're basically throwing down and letting loose just a full body catharsis. Everyone becomes equal and everyone is just there to appreciate the moment. And it's almost a Zen experience. Like,
Oh yeah. Music
okay,
brings you into the moment. It connects you. That's one of the reasons why music is such a big part of a lot of what I do, is because
okay,
I like to feel that connection to other people.
all right. All right. So we also mentioned day job as a social worker. Are you allowed
Yeah.
to speak about that on the
Yeah,
show?
yeah. I can give you
Okay.
generics. Yeah.
Okay. Beautiful. How long have you been working in social work?
Probably about 10 years.
All right. So 10 years.
Yeah.
So what type of training goes into this? What type of school?
Um,
What kind of thing?
yeah, so I had to get, well, first I got my 2 year, then I got my 4 year, and then I actually just started working straight in the field. I started working in community mental health.
Okay.
And then what I do now is I work for a nonprofit, and we do things like run a food pantry. We have a clothing center, and I kind of meet with families and kind of see what they need. And mostly I do a lot of talking to people who are dealing with difficult times and just kind of being with them and helping them through it.
Okay. Uh, so beyond typical college university, are there additional training or workshops or certifications that are required for social work?
There are if you want to go into private practice, but since I work for an agency, I didn't have to do that. But I do a lot of training on my own. Like I take courses online and update things, always
Mhm.
make sure I'm learning so that I can do the best that I can at my job.
All right. So what are some of the more recent workshops that you've attended?
So I've done a lot through Dartmouth because they have a lot of evidence-based practice
Oh,
stuff that they
nice.
do. Yeah, so that's more like person-centered and less med management help for people, more like wraparound care. So that's kind of my passion.
Okay.
Yeah, if that
Nice.
makes sense. It's a lot of
Oh,
social work jargon.
well, I try to have this as a podcast of we're talking tech and science, so I was able to follow along with it. I'm fairly sure my listeners would be able to as well. There'd be plenty of nerds out there
Yeah.
who listen to this show, so yeah, we're a big fan of the evidence based. We need to hear evidence based a
Yes,
lot more often
exactly.
in the news.
Yeah.
We need, not just hearsay or conjecture. We need to back it up.
Yeah.
We need reliable sources. I had one guest on who is a registered dietitian, and we had a quick side tangent on how important double-blind studies are. And we had a little chant of how double-blind is your friend and double-blind is bae for a quick second.
hmm
So yeah, evidence-based.
Yeah.
That's the good stuff right there.
Yeah. It's more person-centered. It's more about how the person feels. And yeah.
So, do you have any specializations, or are you doing just general work with it?
I specialize in mental health. So I
Okay.
do a lot of mental health advocacy, mostly for people who have severe persistent mental illness. Um, Not so much like situational stuff, like things that are more life altering.
Okay.
Yeah, so that's
So
my
they just went through like a major life event and they're having issues coping with that?
Yeah, I do some of that, but most of it is like if someone has a significant diagnosis.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm just
Right.
kind of helping them know what that means and helping them have as best as life as possible with their health concerns.
Okay. I was recently just on well, I would say they're a podcast, but it was more, they have a little side chat thing that they do. So the program is called Project Guardians, and it originally was centered around the Destiny game, but the co-creators of the podcast are all, well, they are either licensed mental health professionals or advocates for mental health, and they do a lot of great work in the gaming community and some other outreach things. And I really suggest anyone, if they have an interest or consider themselves an advocate for proper mental health and well-being, to definitely check them out. So I will definitely send you some information about them, and I'll definitely plug them again in the show notes when I get this episode posted.
Yeah, excellent.
So in the very beginning, you mentioned that you do all sorts of art. You do the dance, you do the singing. How long? Where did your art journey begin?
Okay, so I've been singing since I was really little. My grandpa was an opera singer.
Oh, really?
He actually got to sing Ave Maria at St. Patrick's Cathedral in New York City.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so that was like the big family thing. Whoa, grandpa's an opera singer. So I luckily got his talent. So I had always been a singer, which led to acting because, doing musicals and things of that nature. So I took a lot of acting classes and really became really passionate about acting so far that I got into like Shakespearean acting and everything because I just really loved the stage. I love being someone who's not me.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay.
So if you're just like singing, it's you, it's your heart, it's your feelings. But when you're a character, it's not you. So you have this like ability to use your talent without feeling vulnerable.
Okay.
So it's kind of nice. It's a nice place to hide in the theater. And I used to be really shy. I was super shy. And then I joined theater, and theater kids don't allow you to be shy.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah. So I learned kind of how to talk and how to make friends a little bit better that way. And then, so obviously I had to take dance to be in theater. Which I'm a terrible dancer, but I do it anyways. And
we can make it work for the sake of the performance.
yes. So I did all that stuff, and then I've been in a lot of bands. I started in punk rock bands.
Oi.
Yep, played some pretty bad guitars that were probably. I'm glad no one has that on video, because I didn't know what I was doing. And then I've been in I have an industrial band that I work with my husband and his brother. So we do that now. We just did a cool acoustic set of industrial music, so that was fun, trying to figure out how to make it acoustic.
I was going to say, industrial really isn't my scene, but I don't know how I can wrap my mind around acoustic covers of industrial tracks.
Yeah, I don't. My husband's brother Joe is like our main like musical genius, and he figured it out, thank God. But he's actually the grumpy inspiration for Spooky Cat in the comics. Actually, is my bandmate because he likes to go on these tangents about how he hates things, and I thought it was funny, so I incorporated it into the cat's personality.
Is Joe aware of this, or did we just make him aware?
No, he's aware. Actually, in the first comic, it says that it's based on him. So, so I actually had a friend of mine's daughter loves the comic, and she came to my birthday party, and she was acting really weird around Joe because she was so excited that he was the real life Spooky Cat.
Oh, that's hysterical.
Yeah.
That is hysterical. Oh, So I'm going to fly off on a quick tangent right now.
Okay.
Have you ever experience outside of that in particular situation? Have you ever had people get a little awestruck when meeting you because they've heard about you or they've read your work and they're excited to finally meet you?
Yeah, it happens a lot with the little kids.
That is so precious and adorable.
Yeah, especially if I'm doing like a Comic-Con and we're also cosplaying, because then you get them twice. The kids are like, oh my God, Lonely Girl, oh my God, you're Sailor Moon. My head's gonna explode. So I always like to dress up as characters that the little kids like, so that they kind of know that Lonely Girl Table is a safe place for them. And
Gotcha.
yeah, kind of get them to come over and give them cat stickers and make them happy.
Oh, yay. Yay. I've had that happen to me only a handful of times, and it's bizarre to me because as much as I love doing this podcast and I love doing the content creation, I think to myself, I'm not big enough to warrant admiration. I'm working on it. But, like, who am I?
It is very strange because I'm a person with pretty low self-esteem. And so it's kind of bizarre to me because I'm like, what? No.
Like, me? You sure? You sure you want to talk to me? Are you sure?
Yeah, I mean, I had kids ask me to sign the comic for them, and I was like, what?
Yay. Oh, so quick little etiquette of going to cons that I've personally found is that I absolutely love it when authors and artists will sign their work for me. Absolutely love it. And it just seems like that's the thing to do because you're actually meeting the artist or the author themselves. Like you have the opportunity, so take the opportunity. And only once I picked up a copy of a comic from one of the indie artists at one of the cons. And she asked, would you like me to sign the book? And I was like, absolutely. And she said, thank you, because she's actually had some people who have requested that she doesn't sign her book.
Oh, wow.
And I'm like,
Yeah.
what?
So I was actually kind of surprised at the cons because of the name of the comic being Lonely Girl, because it's kind of about how you feel when you're 13. A lot of people came up to me to tell me their stories about why they were lonely.
Oh, wow.
And I met a lot of people who were very sad that just wanted someone to talk to. And I was like, that's fine. I'm a social worker. I can handle this, babe. Sit down.
Okay, good.
Yeah, so I talked to a lot of, and all different ages. Some, a lot of kids because of the comic, but a lot of adults really identified with the feeling of feeling rejected, which is a common theme in the comic because Lonely Girl always feels rejected, even though she's very loved by her friends and family. But I think that most teenagers feel that way, so that's why it's a big part of the story.
I waver between acknowledging and rolling my eyes at my teenage angst years, but at the same time also understanding that, well, yeah, you can roll your eyes, things weren't nearly as bad as they seemed, but also acknowledging that it doesn't matter how it looks in retrospect. During that time, things can get very heavy very quickly.
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
yeah, definitely. And I tackle a lot of heavy subjects, but try to make them lighthearted. I spend a lot of time talking about bullying because it is still such a common occurrence. When I was at Comic-Con, I brought a lot of really good tips for talking to your kids about bullying, how to stop bullying. I brought all that stuff with me as well because that's a big part of the comic and its mission. But it also tackles things like you have a crush on a boy and he doesn't like you. It's not because you're ugly. It's because he just doesn't like you. It's all right, and try to put perspective on things that feel catastrophic when you're a teenager.
Right. And watching my son grow and develop emotions and struggle with handling his emotions because, he's a toddler. Of course he's going to cry about everything. That's kind of like the joke on the internet, why my toddler is crying right now. And I've talked about this with some of my friends and coworkers, and I slowly, it just kind of clicked in my head that, yeah, he's having a complete and total meltdown because this is the worst thing that's happened to him in his entire life. He's only been on this earth for 2.5 years. So in all actuality, yeah, this is the worst he's ever felt in his entire life because that's all he's experienced so far.
Yeah.
And even moving into your teenage years, yeah, this is the worst pain you've felt in your entire life. Cynically speaking, buckle up, kid, it's going to get worse, but at that time...
But at the time, it feels overwhelming. Yeah, so that's what a lot of it is about. I just finished an issue that is about how sometimes your best friends aren't the kids who like the same bands as you. They don't like the same movies as you. They don't look like you, but they love you. And that, you don't have to have everything in common with your friends. You just have to be there for each other. That's the most important thing. Because I think a lot of people are lonely, especially in the geek world, because they'll be really into something and they're like, no one else likes this. But there are lots of people who do, obviously. But even if there isn't someone in your immediate world that does like it, you can still find people to share it with. And maybe you'll interest each other in things that you both like.
Sure.
So, yeah, so that's the latest issue I've been working on. Kind of just helping kids realize that you're not ever really alone. So, yeah, that book that I'm working on should be out soon. I'm in the final editing process. So the third book with the new issues will probably be available probably in like 2 months, I think.
Very nice. We're looking forward to it. All right, so we're going to move on to some of the tech and geekery headlines that we've got. And prior to recording, I was just reviewing the articles I have posted in the show notes. And the first one up is the Dark Crystal Netflix series. And I would say that it's going to be coming to Netflix soon. But like I said, I just watched the trailer again, and it said, I have it playing right now on the screen in front of me. Yeah, only on Netflix August 30th. And I'm like, oh, that's today.
That's today. Oh, I love the Dark Crystal. That movie scared the crud out of me when I was a kid, though. Oh my god.
So
the scare scene.
So I never watched the Dark Crystal as a kid. My parents probably knew better because they knew it was scary. So I didn't watch it until I was in college. And one of my friends was like, yo, you have to watch the Dark Crystal. So all right, here, whatever. Jim Henson, Muppets, cool, sure, whatever. Oh my god, what is this?
And the guy's always going, all creepy like, and I'm like, this character is so creepy.
So
I was actually gelfling for Halloween when I was a kid.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
Oh,
my
wow.
mom made my wings. It was wicked cool. My mom was a wicked cool, crafty hippie lady. She made a lot of cool stuff.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, actually, when I had to draw her for the comic, because I realized Lonely Girl was going to need parents because she was a teenager, I decided to draw a stereotypical hippie because my mom really was one. She was obsessed with the Beatles. She was always giving people peace signs and saying words like groovy. So that's why Lonely Girl's mom is a hippie, because my mom was.
Okay. That works. So you're a fan of the Dark Crystal?
Oh, yes.
Just a little bit?
Yes, yes.
Okay. So you clearly watched the trailer.
Yes.
I'm assuming several times if you're this much of a fan. And I say that with respect because when certain games start coming out, I will watch the trailer repeatedly. So I say that with love. Clearly, I say that with love. I mean, I do a video game podcast. Of course, I'm going to watch trailers multiple times. It's not trying to fool anyone here. So now that I realize, or now that I am refreshed that it's out right now, have you watched any of the episodes yet?
No, I haven't. I actually don't have Netflix, so I have to con someone else into let me watch it at their house.
Okay, well, you get them on the wire. You get them somehow get this worked out. I have faith in you.
I will.
If you were one of them for Halloween as a kid, you owe it to yourself to have this fun.
I'm a little nervous because I love the original so much. I'm a little nervous it'll let me down, you know? So, but
Yes.
It is Netflix, so it's probably got a big budget, so that will help.
Yeah, Netflix has been. I have considered a few times creating like a special segment intro for some for Netflix talk, just because they come out with so much really good programming, like all the time. So like if Netflix is taking something on, I'm like, we good, we'll be good.
Yeah.
Very few things on Netflix have I thought like, this isn't working out too well. Like the first time where it really hit me was the first of the Marvel series with Daredevil. It was just like so amazing, so dark. Like when Netflix wants to go dark, they go hauntingly dark. And everything about this trailer just looks, I mean, it's puppetry, but this doesn't look like a kid's show. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah.
And I mean, you mentioned how it scared the crap out of you when you were younger. Right?
I mean, when that Skeksis disintegrates in the original, that was really scary as a kid.
Every once in a while, there's like a scene or two that just is shocking. I mean, it's in the rest of like a kid's movie or kid's show or whatever, but then every once in a great while, the writers will just put in this haunting, shocking scene that just comes out of the blue. Like I remember watching the Indiana Jones movies, and it was Raiders of the Lost Ark where everyone melts at the end.
Oh yeah.
Like, the rest of the movie, not that violent, not that grotesque, not all that bad. And then all of a sudden we have screaming face melting.
Yeah.
Just kind of without warning. But yeah, so you need to either con one of your friends, family members to let you swing by on a regular basis to bang this out, or you need to start swindling someone else's Netflix password.
Yeah.
One of the two.
That's a good idea.
Something needs to be done. Because Netflix is pretty open with people sharing accounts and passwords.
Oh yeah, I saw that.
Yeah, they're pretty open with it. We share ours. We got people with different accounts set up. I thankfully have since made my own personal profile on our Netflix account, and now all of my suggestions are actually tuned to my preferences. Because
they're not just for kids.
Because
you have kids at home.
Well, I mean, Jacob's only 3 at this point, so he's not quite there yet. And we do go either on my wife's, or they have like a separate Netflix Kids profile. Mm-hmm. So we keep his crap off our profiles. Don't want that screwing up the metrics and the algorithm. I don't need to see dinosaurs. Well, dinosaurs are great for everyone, but it's besides the point. So again, Dark Crystal, that looks like it's going to be absolutely fantastic. I'm currently watching Lucifer right now on Netflix. I don't know if you ever caught that while it was on ABC.
No, I never watched it. Yeah. I heard it's good, though.
Yeah, it's been really good so far. There are aspects of it where it is very network television, and I don't know if that's a proper descriptor for a TV show, but everything seems like really overproduced and superficial and kind of formulaic in a way, but that's the way it needs to be for mass appeal. And I've had some friends who have watched the full series, at least what's been released so far, and I'm finishing up the last season while it was still on network TV, and here we go again. It became a Netflix show. So the last season was produced by Netflix, so I'm really anxious to see how that all turns out. But once that's taken care of, definitely going to be jumping out the Dark Crystal.
Yeah, Netflix is also doing a new Rocko's Modern Life movie.
Really?
And yeah, I'm pretty excited about that because Nicktoons, total influence on me, especially the way I draw, because that's like how I learned how to draw, was drawing Nicktoons, like Doug and Hey Arnold and Rocco and all that stuff. So I'm pretty excited because it'll be my childhood all over again.
Yeah. That was a good one too. Didn't watch much of it, but it was solid. It's definitely a solid series. All right, moving on a little bit. Matrix 4 is happening. And I can't remember where I saw this online, but I cursed out my friends for not sending the article directly to me.
Yeah, I was super excited about that. I actually found out before my husband did, and then he came home and he was like, Matrix 4! And I was like, yeah, I know. He was like, oh.
Oh.
Yeah, it's like, thanks for telling me.
The original Matrix is something that, like, don't try to remake it, or at least you need to wait 30-something years. Or
Yeah.
not at 30 years. No, we're not at 30 years yet. I don't think. I think we're at like 20. That was released in '99, right?
I don't know.
I think it was like '99, 2000 is when the first Matrix came out. I'm looking at the article right now. So the article I'm going to post is from Forbes, and it is just a funny headline as well. Writing the Keanu-sense, Keanu Reeves could propel Matrix 4 to new heights. So yeah, Keanu is just doing his resurgence into the hearts of the internet.
Oh, yeah. Everybody loves Keanu because he's such a nice guy.
That's the
He does all this nice things.
but like genuinely a nice guy.
Yeah,
Like-
yeah. Like,
Without prop.
he bought an ice cream for somebody just so that he could give them an autograph. So, because they really wanted one, this little kid. And, I mean, like, he's just a really nice guy.
Just like genuinely a nice guy. Like he does nice things for people when like there's no cameras around, or he doesn't know that there's a camera around. Like
And he doesn't like credit for it because he gives a lot of money away to charities and he doesn't want any credit.
the world does not.
Yeah, I wish more people were Keanu.
Yeah, right.
Right.
I saw this one meme. Oh, it was great. It was this really, it's like a Labrador or something. This really cute dog sitting next to some movie prop monster beast of a dog, and the caption was Keanu Reeves versus roles that Keanu Reeves plays, because right? Because between the Matrix and John Wick, he's just like this kung fu gunslinging badass, but in actuality, he's like the biggest sweetheart of Hollywood. So
Yeah, I don't really like movies where it's just the basis is just basically killing a whole bunch of people, but I went to see John Wick just because I love Keanu.
okay, likewise, because I'm in the process. I've started doing and writing scripts for lore videos for Destiny, and I've got a bunch of scripts written, and I want to release like a set of videos in a group of 5. We'll get into that. So clearly, I'm the type of person who really enjoys deep story and allegory thrown in there, and really developed worlds and nuance and civilizations that are created and relationships and all that good stuff. So Keanu Reeves just pistol firing his way through a Russian mob, and like that's it, just had no interest in me. But
Yeah.
it actually became like its own kind of joke. And I didn't watch John Wick 2, but I haven't seen John Wick 3 yet either. But I need to see these movies because I need to see how does all this culminate into a scene where Keanu is on horseback in LA sword fighting
Yeah, it's
ninjas
pretty
on
wild.
motorcycles. Like, how did this come to be? How did we get here?
He kills a guy with a horse. He kills him with the horse. You'll have to watch
yeah,
it.
see,
It's
and
really
that's the
crazy.
thing. Like,
It's just bizarre.
like, all you need to do is see that still, and like, okay, now I'm hooked. Now I have to see this. I don't even need to see a trailer. I need to see how did we get to this point. How does this make sense in storytelling? I need to know. But back to Matrix. I own all 3 Matrix movies on DVD, and I'm really hoping that they do a continuation of the story. But Neo, because they say that they're going to reprise Neo in Trinity somewhere. I don't know if it's in this article or it's other articles, but they said that he's going to be reprising his role as Neo. But I would love to see it as an old grizzled Neo that is bringing someone else into the mix to take his place, like a passing of the torch type of thing. What do you think?
Yeah. I think you'd be like the kind of like Gandalf character, like the mentor, like
Right.
these are the ways
Exactly.
of the Matrix.
Because
Right.
clearly he can still pull it off, but let's play to his age a little bit. This is a good 20 years after the first one. I think somewhere in this article it actually says 16 years since the last. That's a good chunk of time.
I know, but it doesn't. Yeah, he doesn't look like he aged a day.
Oh, that's because he's a vampire.
Yeah, he is.
He doesn't age.
Yeah.
So he could just be the same old Neo. Good, game on. All right. Good for him. But yeah, seeing something like that where he passes the torch, I don't know if I'm quite ready for Neo to die just yet, but I could handle that if it meant that he's like opening the way for a new generation of proper cyberpunk entertainment. Outside of its obvious, role in the next cyberpunk game coming out, which I cannot wait for. That's another story. Moving on into some science news. And the headline for this is coming from NPR. New research casts doubt on connection between smartphone use and teen mental health. So this one seemed appropriate given your background.
Yeah.
So what are your thoughts on this?
Well, we're seeing a big statistical increase in loneliness for teenagers and adults, but definitely teens. It used to be that 1 in 7 teenagers reported loneliness. It's now up to 1 in 3.
Oh, geez.
Yeah.
Okay.
And a lot of it is because our connections are mostly online, which are not actual connections. You're not releasing serotonin the same way that you would if you were actually physically with somebody, if you were making eye contact, if you were hugging them. You do get bursts of serotonin from likes on social media, which is why young people are addicted to them, because it's like a quick burst of happiness, but it doesn't last. So it's causing a lot of depression. I see it in the kids I mentor. The more times they spend on their phones, the worse they feel. So that's why we try to get them involved in theater and art, sports, anything we can get them involved in that gets them away from their phone for a little while.
Okay. So your experience is what you're going through as far as the teens that you are working with goes against this article. It sounds like. And it's really tough for me to comment on things. And relating back to when I was with Project Guardians, is that I can give analysis all I want. I like to think that I'm an intelligent person. But sometimes when we get into some of these more sensitive topics where it's not just, hey, here's a cool finding that came out, here's a new technology that came out, let's just kind of glee and swoon all over it. Something like this, it really makes me pump the brakes and defer to the experts really quickly.
Yeah, I think it's different in different populations as well. I think you're going to see different reactions from kids in rural communities as opposed to more city communities.
And why do you say that?
I think that kids in rural communities tend to need technology to connect more than kids who have access to transportation or events, like they can walk to a concert or something like that. When you have kids in rural communities where the mall is an hour away, where they can't connect a lot of times one-on-one, they have to connect via their phones and the internet to feel that connection, because they're just not capable of getting what they need. So because I do see with some of the kids that I work with, I've had some kids who were from larger populations, like even just someplace like Albany, and then they move to upstate New York, and they very much struggle with not having access to community because they can't get anywhere.
Yeah, it's like I call it my first attempt at college. I went way up north, and I knew nobody. There was not much going on outside of the college campus, so the only interaction I had was at parties with copious amounts of alcohol. But that's it. I mean, it's not that I was super social in high school. I was actually fairly antisocial, but I at least had the option to do things. Like there were more things, more visible things that I could go out and do with other people. And once all of that was taken away from me, it's like, well, I have to get stimulation somewhere, and this is the first thing that's readily available, and it looks like it's the only thing that's available out here.
And that happens in small communities. We used to joke about in the town that I grew up. It's a really small town, that you either partied or started a band to keep yourself busy. So I started a band.
All right. Yeah, so it's kind of depressing either way you look at this. But do you see the teens using their phone to get the quick burst of some type of pleasure, anything, or do you see it as they're escaping into their phone and trying to just escape into whatever else they can find there, as opposed to in real life?
I think it's both. I think that you can project whoever you want to be on the internet, and you might not actually be those things. There's a really amazing indie film that came out. It's called 13. And it's got a lot of interesting stories about kids projecting that there's something else on the internet than they really are in real life. And okay. I think that is part of the appeal. It's kind of like making your Dungeons and Dragons character.
Gotcha.
Who am I going to be online? What are my charisma rolls and all of that stuff? And it kind of helps them kind of escape into who they want to be and what they want the world to be like, because they can kind of pick and choose what they want to expose themselves to.
Gotcha. In any of your research or findings or experiences, have you found anything that discusses, like, because I'm relating this back over to video games and how video games don't cause violent behavior, and people who play a lot of violent video games, there's this discussion between, or centered around, do the violent games cause violent behavior, or do people who demonstrate aggressive and violent behavior, are they attracted to the violent games? So likewise with the phones, I'm going to try to straddle that over to the phone usage. Is the phone usage causing depression, or are kids who are depressed going into phones more? But now I'm thinking about, I got too many thoughts floating around my head and my mouth can't move fast enough right now.
Well, I definitely, I have pretty serious opinions about the violence in video games, because I love violent video games and I won't even kill a bug.
Yeah,
like,
right.
So I'm like, I don't think that there's a correlation. I think that people are violent when they are extremely abused. They live in violent households. Violence is taught. It's a response. And I do think that there's help and that there are ways to unteach violence as a response. I don't think because somebody's violent, they need to be violent forever. I definitely believe in therapeutic interventions and ways to teach people good coping skills. Yeah. So, if we can identify people who are at risk of violent behavior and try to help them figure out other ways to deal with their pain, I think that would decrease the violence. But I know so many gentle, kind, wonderful people who play violent video games. And
anytime it's brought up, like the entire gaming community collectively goes, again, we're going to do this again.
I mean, when I played Knights of the Old Republic, every time I got a dark side point, I would start over from my last save because I didn't want any dark side points. So I mean, that's gamers are some of the nicest people, because often you turn to gaming as a friend. It makes you. It's a nice place for people who feel left out, and those people tend to be, I feel, more open to differences. Yeah. So, a big gamer fan.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, we're going to move on to our last news topic of this episode, and it is for my Capital Region Unlocked segment. I need to get some type of theme music for this. I think I say that every time I mention it. Capital Region Unlocked. Gaming industry, or news around the gaming industry within the Capital Region of New York, and this one is from News Channel 10, one of our local news stations. Is program aims to find ways to get kids excited about STEM.
Yay!
This is fabulous.
I just drew a comic about that. I drew 2 of my female characters because I have a science and a math enthusiast in my comics that are both girls. And I just made a comic to encourage girls to be in STEM.
Excellent. Get them in there.
Yes, because they want to be there. So, just encouraging them that it is a safe place and it's no longer a boys' club, and let's go take it over.
It definitely is no longer a boys' club. And this is one of the things I acknowledge that, yes, I am a white male. Like, I get it. I'm a white male. My kind are the oppressor. I'm sorry. I'm genuinely sorry. I support inclusion. I support more diversity and all that good stuff. I can honestly say that it is getting better, but we still have a long way to go for full inclusivity and gender balance within the workplace. The tech fields are still very much male-dominated, but it is definitely encouraging to see more and more women getting involved. And also at my workplace, I'm seeing more and more younger women coming up through the ranks as well.
Yeah.
So,
and I want to see more women, it's a little off topic, but more women video game designers and programmers. Because there are so many girl gamers. We love to game. I'm always looking at games and trying to find things that I really enjoy. And I'd love to see more, women involved in those discussions and the process of making the games that we love to play.
Very much so. I actually just had Muse and Mostrella on from Queenship Games, and they are proudly touting that they are an all-female indie game developing company. Oh. Yeah, very cool stuff. I completely forgot where I was going to go with this. But, yeah, it's definitely coming up. More women are getting involved with games. This article isn't about women in games, by the way, but I just want to finish this one last point. What also is encouraging to me is that the mentality and the attitude of scoffing at women who are trying to enter traditionally male-dominated fields, those people who scoff at that are generally, swiftly denounced and mocked for having those antiquated views. It's that I find encouraging as well. So, as soon as someone makes some type of even remotely sexist or misogynistic viewpoint of men are just better at engineering, that's just the way we're wired, people immediately trounce on that person and go, "Oh, shut up, please, stop that." But the point of this article, getting back to it, is that one of the local game developing studios, Vicarious Visions, is helping teachers think up and come up and get trained in ways that they can incorporate games and game design into the curriculum. And this is pretty awesome. Yeah,
definitely awesome.
So Vicarious Visions, they locally here in the Capital Region, lots of influence, worked on a ton of games, huge history of games, and they were one of the original studios to really start bringing higher end game development to the area. And I think it's fantastic that they are bringing educators and giving them tools and methods to use to bring gaming into the classroom, because there's a lot of career paths in game development as well.
Oh, yeah, definitely. I wish I had that when I was in school.
Well, games have also matured since we were in school as well. To the point where I was at the Hudson Valley GamerCon in Albany back in April, and I was able to attend a panel where the heads of several of the local game studios were and talking about the state of gaming and game development in the capital region. And I was able to ask the question, how do they see games as a driving force in the arts? And the response I got was actually pretty surprising. I assumed that they were going to say something positive about gaming and gaming art and how it's matured. But what the consensus was from the executives was that in their studios, it is typical for them to employ more artists or employees with artist in their job title than they do engineer.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Right, like
because games are like so artistic and cinematic now.
Right, and like it took me a moment to process that. I'm like, you have more artists than engineers. I was expecting definitely more coders or developers or QA or something to that effect. But then, they talked about it a little bit, and it just rumbled around my head, and I began thinking, yeah, to your point, there's a lot of art. I mean, I always knew, I shouldn't say always knew, but I always appreciated a lot of the art that's in gaming. But the whole idea of environmental artists, character artists, storytellers, musicians, and musical composition, all the textures and all the armor, like fashion. You need a background in fashion design, or studios would have a need for someone with a background in fashion design to make all the different armor, outfits, and skins for characters.
Yeah, definitely.
I mean, I play Destiny quite a bit. It's my number one game right now. And every time they release a new season or a new armor set or a new activity, they're essentially having to make 3 full suits of armor with some type of space magic theme. One for a Titan, one for a Hunter, and one for a Warlock. So it's 3 themed outfits every single time. And like, that's a lot of fashion to get that.
Yeah, definitely.
So it's really encouraging to see that these studios are taking the lead and, again, breaking the stigma. It's no longer kids in their parents' basement playing video games, right?
Right.
Like that stigma needs to go. That's been dead and gone for quite a while now. I really don't even see the media even portraying gamers like that so much anymore. So like the media is finally catching up with that idea. Finally. I don't see it too much. Do you see that too much anymore?
No, I think everybody games now. Even like soccer moms are playing games on their phone while they're waiting for their kids.
Yeah.
I mean, everybody games.
Yeah, we may not be gaming like at the same complexity level, but you still gaming. You still gaming. Yeah,
it's still gaming. Yep. I don't care if it's Pokemon Go or you're playing Battlefront or something. Right. It's still gaming.
Yeah, you're still gaming. So you just calm that stigma down a little bit. You just calm that down. Join us. We have cookies. We got the cookies.
Actually, that was my biggest surprise when I was playing Pokemon. Like the age difference. Like there was like little kids, and then there was like super there were some seniors there, and there were people from all walks of life. Like everybody all playing Pokemon together. It was really cool to see this just huge diversity of people playing this game.
That's actually really heartwarming, not gonna lie.
Yeah, it's really nice. I really enjoyed it.
Okay. All right, so we're going to move into the final segment of the show, the final 5 questions. These are 5 questions that range from irrelevant to irreverent. The first 2 are always the same. The last 3 have a theme. Oh, my puppy. One of my doggies just decided to come up and join me. Don't worry, I'll let you out inside in just a little bit. Just give me a few more minutes. Hi, Sophie. Hi. You say hi? No, you're just going to look at my face. Okay. So we can get this over with. She's needs to go out, but we can. Hey, go lie down. You go lie down? Okay, good girl. So, like I said, first 2 are always the same. Last 3 have a theme. Here we go. First question: coffee or tea?
Coffee.
And how do you take it?
Light, with lots of cream and sugar.
So it's the barely coffee routine.
Yeah, the barely coffee. I'm one of those pumpkin spice people, too.
Oh, your season is coming. If it's not here already. I can hear the excitement in your voice. I can hear the smile.
Yes. I am a stereotypical goth. So I love pumpkin spice and I love the fall.
Okay. All right, so second question. We know you play video games, but do you play any tabletop games?
Yes, right now I'm playing a Star Wars game with some friends of mine, and he's letting us mix universes, so I'm playing as a Pikachu Droid.
Oh my goodness.
So that's been super fun.
Oh boy. Okay, so I'm gonna. All right, cool, awesome. And that's the glory of games and RPGs. It's like whatever you can imagine. Screw it, let's throw it into the game.
Yep.
I have to move on from that one. No, that would joke a little bit more. Wow. Okay, that's going to be the title of the episode: Pikachu Droids.
Pikachu Droid.
Okay, fabulous. Oh, that is. I need to write that down. Okay, so now we're going to get into the theme, and you've mentioned it several times about how you're a goth. So we're going to do a few goth-themed questions.
Okay.
So, first one, what is a goth movie that you would suggest everyone to watch at least once in their life?
The Craft.
The Craft? Is that
Yes.
that came really quick. That was right there for you.
Yes, I loved that movie. It was like my favorite in high school. Everyone used to call me Nancy because the way I dressed, because she's like the goth character, but I was really Sarah. I was the sad girl with the hippie mom. You know?
The Craft. Everyone's got to watch that movie at least once in their life. All right.
Yes.
Question number 4. How many shades of black do you have in your closet?
Oh, a lot. I get constantly bombarded at work about why I don't wear colors. There was like, you wear too much black. I also have tons of black eyeshadow, black lipsticks, black nail polishes. I have many, many shades of black everything.
Great. All right, final question. Halloween, is it a season or a lifestyle?
It's a lifestyle.
Definitely a lifestyle.
Yes, every day is Halloween.
That's the way to be properly living your life.
Yes. I actually have a Lonely Girl story that is all about how goth kids are really popular at Halloween.
Oh, yeah.
We have all the cool stuff that everybody needs, and then we go back to being picked on after Halloween. But
for that,
it's the only time of the year we're cool.
you need this other eyeshadow? Oh, I got you, boo. We got you.
Yeah. Oh, you needed some black lipstick? Yeah. I got 3 shades.
I got that one. Yeah, I got 3 shades of black. The black or darker black? No, this is midnight black. No, I need a dark. All right. Anyway, moving on. And that is all we have for this episode. Time to roll the standard end of show plugs. You can find the show notes for this episode, which contain links for all topics discussed, and all other previous episodes at videogamecrosstalk.com, as well as all the social media contacts and the occasional blog post. Or you can follow me around on Twitter, Instagram, PS4, and Twitch at HyperSyntax, HYP3RSINT4X. And as for my guest, Rebecca, where can our beautiful listeners follow you around?
I'm on Instagram as LonelyGirl1983, and I'm also on Facebook under Lonely Girl Comics.
All right. And please don't forget to like, review, subscribe, and share this podcast all over your social media accounts. We can be found on iTunes, Stitcher, Google Play, and pretty much every other podcast listening service. The podcast audio also gets pushed out to YouTube, and I've recently started my hand at trying some Destiny lore videos, as I said in the past. I've only done one so far, which is basically welcoming the new players to the Destiny universe since it's going to go free to play soon. But I'm going to start doing my own little recap of lore through the lens of had we known then what we know now type of thing. So really excited to get that going. And who knows what other content I might be throwing up there. We'll see what happens. Anyway, thank you all for listening, and thank you, Rebecca, for coming to join me.
Yeah, thank you for inviting me. I had a great time.
Excellent. And in the words of Rod Sterling, science fiction is the improbable made possible, and fantasy is the impossible made probable.